You know when you have a defining moment? Some random decision that seems trivial when you make it, but ends up changing everything. Like choosing your apartment because it's close to your favorite taco place, and meeting your future wife in the laundry room. Or ducking into a thrift store during a rainstorm and finding a signed first edition copy of The Shining that pays off your student loans. Small choices, massive consequences. For me, it was booking a weekend getaway at the Harvest Moon bed and breakfast. I needed a break from social media. I worked for a marketing agency where I spent 12 hours a day generating leads and running ad campaigns. My eyes burned from staring at screens, and I even responded to texts from my shower. My girlfriend and I hadn't had dinner together without phones in forever. She was in cybersecurity and spent her off time at the gym and scrolling TikTok. I can't blame her, I'm just as bad. So I booked a weekend trip to this old-timey inn. Not the kind with doilies on all the furniture, more like a Victorian mansion. A place called the Harvest Moon Bed and Breakfast. Seemed like a good way to relax. I remember how excited I was showing my girlfriend Jen the website. Photos of gourmet croissants and coffee and a vintage wraparound porch. The way her eyes lit up at the description of the beautiful gardens on the grounds. How could we have known what was really waiting for us there? If I just scrolled further down in the reviews or noticed how there were no guest photos newer than 6 months old, maybe I would have chosen differently. Maybe we'd still be normal people with normal lives instead of whatever we've become. It's strange how the smallest choices lead to the biggest changes. Like spilling coffee and missing a train. Or finding a videotape labeled, "Do not watch," and doing it anyway. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, from that sunny Friday afternoon when we pulled into the gravel driveway of the Harvest Moon, blissfully unaware of the cameras already recording our arrival. When we arrived, I suggested leaving our phones in the car so we wouldn't be tempted. Jen agreed, and we tossed them on the front seat before grabbing our luggage from the trunk. We walked through the heavy wooden front door of the B&B, and a gray-haired woman greeted us. "Welcome to Harvest Moon. I'm Edna," she said, shaking my hand with her cold one. She led us through the sitting room with antique furniture and weird paintings. The place smelled like lavender and wood polish. We walked up the creaking stairs. "This is the maple room," Edna said, showing us in. Faded wallpaper with rosebuds on it and a farmhouse bed with a quilt. Not exactly the Hilton, but that was okay. We weren't here for modern luxury. We were here for the slower pace, the opportunity to reconnect with each other. A small television sat on top of a wooden dresser, a VCR connected beneath it. I hadn't seen a VCR since my grandparents' house as a kid. "If you get bored, we have a collection of movies for entertainment," Edna explained, gesturing to a wicker basket filled with VHS tapes. "Breakfast is at 8. Robert's blueberry pancakes are a local legend." After Edna left, Jen flopped onto the bed. I feel like we're in a wormhole, like an interstellar. It's kind of nice. Low-key. I might take a nap. I rifled through the tape collection. Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Final Destination. Oh man, they have all the classics. Then I found this unmarked black tape with a handwritten label. Room 4, Do Not Watch. I couldn't help myself. Of course I had to watch it. "Check this out," I said to Jen, already putting in the VCR. The screen filled with static before showing our exact room. Same wallpaper, same bed, everything, but the footage looked old. A couple walked into the frame. The guy had a typical 90s look, flannel and all. "I'm telling you, I heard something coming from inside the wall," the guy said. "Like what? Mice?" the woman asked. "No, like voices." It was weird watching these people in our room from years ago. The couple moved toward the wall next to the dresser, listening. Then the picture got fuzzy, and when it cleared, they were gone. The room was empty. The bed was unmade. The screen froze. That was weird, Jen said, looking freaked out. I was already checking out the wall. I think there's a seam here, I said, feeling along the wallpaper. The roses don't line up. Jen came over and we both pressed on the wall, tracing the edges. I felt like we were in an episode of Scooby-Doo. I found a small latch hidden in the molding and pushed it. The wall actually opened, swinging in with a soft hiss. "No way," Jen whispered. There was a narrow passageway behind it, with brick walls and pipe running along the ceiling. It was pitch black inside. Jen reached for her phone, then remembered it was in her car. I found a metal flashlight on a shelf right inside the passage. "Huh, that's convenient," I said, turning it on. The beam was weak, but it worked. "This has to be some kind of escape room thing," Jen said as we entered, like some kind of immersive experience. It never occurred to us not to go in. The passage narrowed as we went, and we had to duck our heads. The air was chilly and smelled earthy. We heard a crackling sound up ahead. Rounding a corner, we saw a walkie-talkie on a small table, its red light blinking.
"Help, please."
A woman's voice came through the static.
"We're trapped. In the basement. Help."
I picked it up. "Hello? Who's there?" The message just repeated.
"We're trapped. The basement. Help."
"It's recording," Jen said, puzzled. We kept going. The whole thing was so perplexing we really weren't thinking clearly. It didn't dawn on us that this could be actual danger. I guess it was even a little exciting, like a Goonies-style treasure hunt. Eventually, the passage opened to a room that made my stomach drop. Monitors everywhere, showing different rooms of the inn. One screen showed our empty room with the hidden door standing open. "What the hell?" I whispered. Jenna pointed to another monitor showing an office. Edna and some old dude were sitting in front of a huge computer screen, the kind professional gamers have. I couldn't wrap my head around what they were watching. It was us, standing here in this control room. They were watching us, right now. And through the speakers, we could hear them. "These two are perfect," the guy said. "Did you see their faces when they found the tape? Classic. Our subscribers are going to love this episode." "Reminds me of those college kids last month," Edna replied. "The views we got on them went through the roof." I grabbed Jenna's arm. "We need to get out of here." As we turned to leave, Jenna spotted a shelf of DVDs, all labeled with dates and names. She grabbed one with a cover showing a terrified couple running through the same passage we had just been in. "Matt, look," she said, pulling out another case labeled The Thompsons, October 2022. Fear rating 9.7. "Do you think these are all guests?" I found myself looking at what was clearly a professional editing station. "This isn't just some hidden camera prank or escape room," I said. My mind was racing. "It's a whole production studio." There was a leather book open on the desk. I flipped through pages of notes on guests, their profiles, and detailed plans for their experiences. And there, marked with today's date, were our names, with notes. Matt and Jenna Carlson, Room 4, March 2025. Profiles: mountain bike enthusiast, social media detox weekend. Trigger: VHS discovery, planted audio distress signals. Estimated fear rating 8.9. "This is so twisted," I said, feeling sick. They planned this whole thing. A low hiss filled the room, and a sweet chemical smell hit my nose. The ventilation ducts just activated. "Gas," Jen coughed, covering her mouth. "Matt, we need to..." The room spins around me. I tried to grab Jen, but my arms felt like they were underwater. The last thing I saw was her collapsing as the world tilted sideways and consciousness slipped away. I woke up with my head pounding. I was laying on a cold, damp concrete floor. We're in some kind of basement film set with chains bolted to the walls and a single filthy mattress in the corner. A hockey mask hangs from a hook nearby, straight out of Friday the 13th. Jen was already awake, checking out the cameras mounted in each corner, their red lights blinking like evil eyes. A television screen flickered to life on the wall. "Welcome to the show." Edna's sinister smile filled the screen. "Congratulations, you're now part of an exclusive production. Don't worry, as long as you provide a believable performance, you'll be released." "You're crazy," I spat out. Edna chuckled. "No, honey, we're artists. Hollywood won't do true horror anymore. Feature films are just cheap jump scares and CGI monsters these days. But the public wants authentic experiences, and our Patreon subscribers pay thousands for what we provide." "What? You mean people are paying to watch us actually be terrified for their lives?" Jen screeched. "You nailed it, but there's something in it for you too, dear. Those who generate compelling content get to leave. Those who don't, stay and try harder next time. So give us your best Sidney Prescott, would you?" The screen went black, leaving us alone with the watching cameras. "We need to get out of here," I whisper, trying to keep my voice from shaking. Jen nodded toward the cameras. "They're watching everything. If they want a show, maybe that's our ticket out." "What are you thinking?" "Well, Edna said guests who get views get released, so I say we act like terrified captives desperate to save their own lives. For the next 24 hours, we give the performance of our lives. Screaming when the lights cut out, making desperate attempts to reach a window that's 15 feet off the ground, breaking down in tears when creepy sounds play through the speakers, tearful breakdowns to satisfy Edna's followers' hunger for authentic fear. That night, exhausted and sleepless, we realized the chances of being released were next to none. Of course, Edna would expect us to go right to the police. We had to give them what they wanted, because they dangled the hope of getting out alive in front of us. But we'd be naive to believe them. We had to figure out another way. On the third day, a panel slid open in the wall, and a tray appeared with what looked like mystery meat and water. It was disgusting. But there was something else on the tray. A fork. The way Jen looked at it, I could tell she had a plan. That night, in the darkness, she used the fork to unscrew the vent panel near the floor. "If I can reach the wiring behind it, I might be able to short out the door lock," she whispered. "You know how to do that?" I asked. 7 years in IT, remember? I've seen more complicated security systems than this. I positioned myself to block the camera's view, though it's so dark they probably can't see much anyway. After an hour of working on the wiring in the pitch black, we heard the door click. I wanted to bust out right then, but we waited a few minutes longer until the cameras panned away during their automated sweep. That's when I slowly pushed the door open. The hinges didn't make a sound. We slipped into a dimly lit hallway lined with pipes and exposed wiring. The narrow passage forced us to move in a single file. "We need to find the control room," Jen whispered. "That's where all the evidence is." We crept through the maze of passageways, trying to remember the way. Each turn looked identical in the weak emergency lighting. Suddenly, footsteps echoed ahead. We pressed ourselves against the wall, barely breathing, as Robert appeared around the corner carrying 2 syringes. He's headed towards our cell, probably to drug us again. His eyes widened when he spotted us. "How did you—" I didn't let him finish. I lunged forward, surprising him. He stumbled backwards, dropping one syringe shattering on the floor. Jen darts forward and grabs the second one, plunging it into his neck. We left him unconscious in the hallway and found our way back to the control room. The monitor still displayed every room in the B&B, including our empty cell. "Look," I pointed to one screen showing Edna pacing in an office, checking her watch and making a call. She's wondering why Robert hasn't come back. I grabbed the ledger with all the guest names and a stack of VHS tapes as evidence. We bolted through the B&B, finally bursting out the front door to our car. We grab our phones and frantically dial 911. That's when I smelled smoke. Looking back, I saw flames erupt from windows on the second floor. Edna's destroying the evidence, probably trying to kill us too. Within minutes, roaring flames swallowed the Harvest Moon bed and breakfast. The heat was so intense we had to back the car further away. The flames consumed every bit of evidence we didn't manage to grab. Police sirens wailed in the distance. 6 months later, the ring light casts a perfect glow on my face as I adjust the framing on our new Sony camera. Our apartment looks nothing like it did before the Harvest Moon incident. Now it's a professional YouTube studio with soundproof panels and lighting rigs. "What's up, Room 4 fam?" I say with Jimmy Fallon enthusiasm. Smash that like button because today we're celebrating 1 million subscribers. Jen slides in the frame wearing our branded merch, a black hoodie with a "I survived Room 4" printed across the chest. She flashes peace signs and mouths 1 million with exaggerated excitement. "Drop a comment if you've already pre-ordered our book," she says, holding up the advanced copy with our faces on the cover. "And don't forget to use code TRAUMA20 for 20% off our limited edition survival stickers." The live stream goes for 45 minutes. We tease exclusive Netflix documentary footage of our escape from the Harvest Moon, announce our upcoming podcast about survival stories, and reveal next week's collab with a famous horror filmmaker who wants to recreate our experience for a movie. Throughout it all, the chat fills with donations and emojis, fans living vicariously through our ordeal at Edna's Inn. When the red recording light switches off, our producer sends a thumbs up from the other room. We've crushed the engagement metrics again. I pop open a bottle of champagne that costs more than my first car. The YouTube algorithm doesn't lie. Our terror converts to cash. The videos where we describe the dungeon or reenact our escape get 3 times the views of anything else. Our dining table is covered with contracts, including one from Nightfall Productions to create the Room 4 experience, an extreme haunted attraction where participants would sign waivers to be kidnapped and subjected to psychological terror inspired by what happened to us. 7 figures guaranteed. The irony doesn't escape me. The very thing that almost killed us has become our biggest success, and we monetize the hell out of it. The Nightfall contract sits between us, its pages outlining how we'll make others feel what we felt, for entertainment, for profit. Jen traces the edge of the contract with her finger. "Our audience wants authenticity," she says quietly, just like Edna and Robert's viewers. I push my moral compass deep into the Earth's core. The money and the champagne are intoxicating. "This is different," I insist, trying to convince both of us. "No one gets hurt. It's all consensual." As we sign the contract, I can't help thinking that the most terrifying part of our story isn't what happened at the Harvest Moon. It's how easily we've slipped into Edna and Robert's shoes. But this is different. We tell ourselves it's different.